It starts with just one night. You wake up once to go to the bathroom, then twice, then every 2 hours. At first, you think it's just something small. Maybe you drank too much tea, or your legs were a bit swollen that day. But weeks go by, months even. And now, sleep is no longer restful. You wake up tired, irritable. Your days feel heavier, and your nights, restless and uncertain. That's exactly what happened to Mrs. Elaine, a gentle 81-year-old widow who came to my clinic one morning in tears. Not because of pain, not because of fear, but because she hadn't had a full night's sleep in over a year. I used to enjoy mornings, she told me. I'd open the window, make tea, listen to the birds. Now I just feel empty, like the night took something from me. And I knew exactly what she meant. I'm Dr. David. Over the past 35 years, I've had the honor of walking beside thousands of seniors through their worries, questions, and quiet victories. But there's one night I'll never forget. That night I mentioned? It was with a gentleman named Thomas. He was 76, a former mail carrier, tall and proud, but with eyes that told a different story. He'd been waking up 4, sometimes 5 times a night, not from nightmares or pain, but from the unrelenting urge to urinate. I'm not afraid of dying, doctor, he said, but I am afraid of losing myself before I get there. And I understood him. Nocturia is more than a nuisance. It's one of those hidden conditions that doesn't show up on the outside. Friends might not notice. Even family members might assume it's just part of aging. But the truth is, it chips away at your health in quiet, damaging ways. Every time you wake up at night, your body misses out on deep sleep, the kind that heals tissues, balances hormones, and restores memory. Interrupted sleep can lead to chronic fatigue, lowered immune function, and increased risk of depression. In seniors, it even doubles the chance of nighttime falls, which can be devastating. But that's not all. For some people, nocturia isn't just a symptom. It's a warning, a sign that the kidneys are struggling, the bladder is irritated, or the heart isn't pumping fluid efficiently. It might also be linked to poorly controlled blood sugar or imbalances in minerals like sodium and potassium. And the mental toll? That's perhaps the most overlooked part. Seniors like Thomas start avoiding evening activities. They skip family dinners, decline travel, and isolate themselves out of fear. Not because they're weak, but because they're exhausted. Every night feels like a battle, and every morning feels like recovery. So when Thomas said, "I just want to feel normal again," I didn't reach for a prescription pad right away. Instead, I asked him about his dinner, his snacks, what he drank, and what he avoided. Because sometimes, relief starts not in the medicine cabinet, but in the kitchen. That's when we discovered something remarkable. By gently adjusting what he ate in the evenings, especially incorporating a few calming vegetables, his body began to find its rhythm again. And that's where we'll go next, understanding what causes nocturia in the first place, and how the right foods can offer the relief so many are seeking. When Thomas and I sat down to review his habits, what emerged wasn't just a matter of how often he went to the bathroom, but why. Nighttime urination has many faces. In some seniors, it's a mechanical issue. The bladder becomes overactive or less elastic with age, holding less fluid and triggering the urge even when it's not full. For others, the kidneys may start producing more urine at night, a condition known as nocturnal polyuria. And in some cases, it's the result of underlying medical conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or an enlarged prostate. But beyond diagnosis, there's something more subtle at play, the role of fluid and salt balance. You see, our bodies rely on a precise balance of electrolytes to regulate water movement. When we eat too many processed foods or not enough minerals like potassium and magnesium, this balance gets disturbed. The result? The kidneys are forced to flush out excess sodium by pulling more water into the urine, often during the night when the body is trying to rest. Another overlooked cause is late-day fluid intake. Many of my patients, in an effort to stay hydrated, drink large amounts of water or tea after dinner. Add to that the use of certain medications like diuretics, and the bladder is suddenly working overtime while the rest of the body longs for sleep. And then there's inflammation. Some vegetables and artificial additives can irritate the bladder lining, increasing sensitivity and the urge to urinate. Caffeine, acidic foods, spicy dishes, these can all contribute, especially when eaten close to bedtime. When I explained all of this to Thomas, I saw the shift in his eyes. It wasn't just age. It wasn't just bad luck. There were real, changeable reasons behind his exhaustion. And that gave him hope. Hope that with a few mindful changes, especially in his evening meals, his nights could be peaceful again. And that's when we began focusing not just on what to remove, but on what to add. Because the right foods don't just avoid harm. They actively support the bladder, the kidneys, and the nervous system that controls them. They calm inflammation, help rebalance fluid retention, and nourish the tissues that regulate urination. And in my years of practice, 3 vegetables have stood out above the rest in doing just that. Let's begin with the first one. The first vegetable I suggested to Thomas was one he hadn't touched in years: celery. He wrinkled his brow when I mentioned it. "Isn't that just water in a stalk?" he joked. But I smiled, because I've seen celery do more than most people expect, especially for seniors struggling with nighttime urination. Celery, while light and crisp, carries a powerful blend of natural compounds that gently support the urinary system. It contains phthalides, which help relax blood vessels and reduce blood pressure. Lower blood pressure, in turn, eases the burden on the kidneys and helps regulate fluid production overnight. But its real magic lies in how it balances water and sodium. Celery is naturally rich in potassium and contains a modest amount of sodium in a perfectly bioavailable form. This combination helps the body release excess fluid during the day, when it's convenient, and reduce fluid buildup before bedtime. In other words, it acts as a natural daytime diuretic that works with your body's rhythm, not against it. And here's where the story gets personal. I had once treated a retired violin teacher named Clara, 84, who had nearly given up on evening outings because she feared being far from a bathroom. She loved music but avoided concerts, loved long walks but skipped them. Her world grew smaller with every night she lost to bladder urgency. When we added a small serving of gently steamed celery to her late lunch, paired with a warm foot soak and earlier hydration, something shifted. Within 2 weeks, she reported waking up only once per night instead of 4. Her sleep deepened, her energy returned, and most importantly, she felt in control again. The key, I reminded her, was timing. Celery works best when eaten earlier in the day. This gives the body time to process the fluid and release it while you're still awake. I advised against raw celery close to bedtime, as it can be a bit too stimulating for some. A simple side of steamed celery with olive oil and a sprinkle of turmeric can be both soothing and powerful. Add it to soups, stir-fries, or even as part of a warm salad. For something so often overlooked, celery can quietly offer the kind of relief no one expects, and every senior deserves. Now, let's move on to the second vegetable, one that offers both comfort and calm. While celery helps the body release fluid during the day, pumpkin offers something different: calm. It was around autumn when I met Helen, a 79-year-old retired school principal. Her daughter had brought her in after noticing how withdrawn she'd become. Helen wasn't sleeping, often napping during the day and losing her appetite. But the real issue? She was waking up 5 to 6 times each night to urinate. "I feel like I live in 2-hour shifts," she whispered. "I never really rest. I just wait for the next trip to the bathroom." As we talked, I asked about her meals. Her eyes lit up for a moment when she mentioned she used to love pumpkin soup. "But I don't bother cooking it anymore," she said. "Takes too much effort for one person." That's when I knew we had a starting point. Pumpkin, particularly when steamed or gently roasted, is rich in beta-carotene, zinc, and magnesium, three nutrients that support bladder control and reduce nighttime muscle spasms. Zinc is especially valuable for men as it nourishes the prostate, but it's beneficial for women too. Magnesium helps calm the nervous system, reducing those urgent signals that interrupt sleep. And beta-carotene helps soothe inflammation in the urinary tract. But what I find most special about pumpkin is its softness. It's easy to digest. It warms the body. It's comforting, both physically and emotionally. For many of my patients, it becomes a gentle signal to the body that it's time to slow down, settle in, and prepare for rest. Helen started making pumpkin soup again. Not every day, just 2 or 3 evenings a week. She blended it with carrots and a hint of cinnamon, creating a nourishing, anti-inflammatory meal that was easy on the stomach and deeply satisfying. Within 3 weeks, she reported sleeping nearly 5 hours straight, something she hadn't experienced in years. More than that, she said she felt hopeful again. And sometimes, that's the real medicine. So if you're struggling with nighttime urgency, consider adding a bowl of pumpkin soup to your dinner. Or try roasted pumpkin cubes tossed with olive oil and sage. It's a humble vegetable, but in the right hands, it can feel like a warm embrace. Next, we'll look at the third vegetable, one that helps relax not just the bladder, but the entire body. Some foods comfort the stomach, others calm the mind, but a few special ones seem to do both, and spinach, when gently cooked, is one of them. I first came to appreciate its power through a patient named Raymond. He was 82, a retired jazz musician with a deep voice and quiet humor. He came to see me not just for the frequent urination, but for the exhaustion it brought. "I've got nothing left in the tank by morning," he said. "Feels like I spend more time in the bathroom than in bed." His blood work looked fine. No infection, no signs of serious disease. Just the typical wear of aging. But I noticed something in his chart. His magnesium levels were low, and his hydration pattern was erratic. That's when I asked, "How often do you eat leafy greens?" He paused, then chuckled. "Does lettuce on a sandwich count?" We started small. A few servings of cooked spinach each week. Not raw, not sautéed in heavy oil, but gently steamed or simmered into a simple broth with garlic and olive oil. After 10 days, he called to say he was only waking up once a night. By week 3, there were nights he slept straight through. Here's why spinach works. This leafy green is rich in magnesium and potassium, 2 minerals that regulate muscle contractions, including those in the bladder wall. Magnesium, in particular, helps calm overactive nerves and reduce the spasms that can trigger nocturia. Potassium helps the kidneys manage water and sodium balance, easing the pressure that builds up overnight. Cooked spinach also provides folate and iron, which improve blood flow and support energy during the day, especially important when poor sleep has taken its toll. The key, again, is preparation. Raw spinach can be harder to digest for some seniors, and oxalates in uncooked greens may irritate the bladder. But steaming or lightly boiling spinach reduces these compounds while preserving its soothing properties. Raymond now swears by his evening spinach soup. "Tastes like nothing special," he said with a grin, "but it lets me dream again." And that's what we want. Not just fewer trips to the bathroom, but the return of rest, rhythm, and renewal. Let's now look at how these 3 vegetables work even better when paired with a few simple habits you can start tonight. Food, as powerful as it is, often works best when paired with the right rhythm. That's what I told Raymond during one of our follow-up visits. He was sleeping better, no doubt about it. But there were still nights, especially after a salty dinner or a stressful day, when his bladder would interrupt his rest. So we talked not just about what to eat, but how to live more gently in the hours before bedtime. The first thing I suggested was timing. Many seniors unknowingly sabotage their sleep by drinking too much fluid late in the day. Hydration is vital, of course, but it works best when spread throughout the morning and early afternoon. I encouraged Raymond to taper off water and herbal teas after 6 p.m., giving his body time to process fluids before he lay down. Second, we looked at movement. A short, slow walk after dinner, even just around the home, can help the body circulate fluids more efficiently. It encourages gentle compression of the legs, supports venous return, and reduces the pooling of fluid in the lower extremities, which the kidneys might otherwise process overnight. Third, we introduced a soothing ritual, something many of my patients grow to love: a warm foot soak before bed. Just 10 to 15 minutes in a basin of warm water with Epsom salt can relax the nerves, signal the body to wind down, and even draw excess fluid away from the bladder region. Raymond took to it quickly. "It's like telling my body bedtime's coming," he said. We also talked about posture. Sitting with legs elevated in the early evening, perhaps during television or reading, can help the body redistribute fluid before sleep. This small change alone has made a big difference for several of my patients, especially those with mild heart or kidney strain. And finally, we added a moment of stillness. Just a minute or two of slow breathing. Nothing elaborate, no apps or training, just quiet, just presence. I believe the body listens when we speak to it kindly, and it responds best when we give it space to rest. When these habits combine with the power of celery, pumpkin, and spinach, something remarkable happens. Not overnight, and not all at once, but gently, consistently, and with growing confidence. And that brings us to one final reflection, a reminder of why this journey matters and what you might rediscover along the way. I've always believed that healing doesn't begin in a hospital. It begins at home, in the quiet choices we make each day, the meals we prepare with care, and the small habits we build before bed. For some, the journey to peaceful sleep might begin with celery added to a midday meal. For others, it's the warmth of pumpkin soup shared with a loved one, or a bowl of soft, cooked spinach that soothes more than just the stomach. But beyond the vegetables themselves, there's something deeper at work. It's the return of trust in your body. The belief that age doesn't mean helplessness, that even after months or years of restless nights, your body still wants to work with you, not against you. Sometimes, it simply needs a little kindness, a little patience, and a little nourishment in the right direction. I've watched men and women, like Raymond, like Clara, like Helen, step into a new rhythm of rest, not through drastic treatments, not through fear, but through reconnection with their food, with their bodies, and with hope. So if you're waking often in the night, feeling drained or defeated, please know this: there is a path forward. It doesn't start with pressure. It starts with peace, and maybe, just maybe, with a humble vegetable on your plate tonight. I'm Dr. David. Over the past 35 years, I've had the honor of walking beside thousands of seniors through their worries, questions, and quiet victories. And if this message has found you today, then I hope it becomes the beginning of your quiet victory too. Because you deserve rest, you deserve comfort, and you deserve to wake up tomorrow with strength in your body and peace in your heart. Nighttime urination, what we call nocturia, often sneaks into a senior's life quietly, but it doesn't stay quiet for long. It disrupts your sleep, weakens your immune system, elevates blood pressure, and increases your risk of falls. Over time, it wears down the body and the spirit alike. What surprised Elaine the most wasn't that this was common. It was that something as simple as food could help. You see, nature has its quiet remedies, and among them are 3 vegetables that I've seen bring incredible relief to patients just like Elaine. In today's video, we'll explore these 3 foods. We'll understand how they work and why they may hold the key to restoring peace to your nights. Because you deserve that peace, and it might begin on your plate.